We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sponsored Content. I'm your host. Today we continue with Spawn Storytime, episode number 8, covering Spawn issue number 8. Before we do that, I want to recap quickly issue number 7. In our last episode, we had a continuation of our battle between Spawn and Overtkill, who was hired by mob boss Antonio Carlo Twistelli, aka Tony Twist, aka Don Vito Gravano, aka Don Dracula. I mean, this guy has more aliases than the notorious B.I.G., but we saw that Spawn was able to collect his weaponry. He was able to dismantle Overtkill pretty easily. We had our introduction to Bobby, who quickly becomes one of Spawn's best friends. We'll take a quick look here at our cover, issue number 8. Issue number 8 was released on February 1st, 1993. Here we see Spawn sort of bent down, contemplating things, kind of looking like he's taking a dump. Really not the most flattering image of Spawn. I think it might be some sort of homage cover, but if you don't have that knowledge and you just look at this and you've seen the other covers and you look at this one, it kind of just looks like Spawn's on a squatty potty. I don't know. It's just not the most flattering image. Not my favorite cover. In issue number 8, we will get our first appearance of the Vindicator, who is one of the 5 Fleabiak brothers. He's one of the brothers of the Violator. He's equally offensive and just as terrifying. But in this issue, we'll actually have a continuation of the storyline from issue number 5, in which we introduce Billy Kincaid. So in this issue, we're going to follow up with Billy in the aftermath of him being slaughtered, rightfully so, by Spawn. If you're unfamiliar with this, I suggest that you catch up on the story with episode number 5. And we're going to get right into issue number 8 with Billy Kincaid being reborn inside of a sack of fluid, having nightmares about being killed by Spawn, his encounter with Spawn in issue number 5. Although he's killed 28 kids, he just doesn't think that he deserves the fate that he received at the hands of Spawn. So Billy's kind of getting his fat ass reborn into this sack. He's kind of wondering what the hell's going on, where he is. Here we see Billy growing in this sack. He notices that he's not breathing inside here, so he's probably dead, and somewhere, maybe in purgatory, best case scenario. We see it says in heaven, everything is fine. If we take a quick look around, this place doesn't look like any heaven that I've seen depicted, but we'll find out soon. Billy says, this situation doesn't look good. He's buck-ass naked. He's covered in kind of a sticky goo. So he, in order to clothe himself, he kills a 4-eyed lizard and he skins it. And now he's got this sort of, headdress on, and he's kind of looking for more people. He just craves some social interaction. Here, Billy meets a group of people. First, we see Kimberly, and she's kind of describing how she arrived here. She says, I had this eating disorder. Next thing I know, I'm just like you. I'm a fruit. I'm growing on a tree. She says, basically, this has happened to everyone here. We see a small group of people. We still see kind of a scary landscape here. And she says that, we're here in this orchard and we're not really sure where to go or what to do from here. We meet Larry, Claudette, Bob, and little Jessica. And Billy Kincaid introduces himself as Mr. Chili, which is his professional name. Billy suggests that they stick together and kind of explore a bit, maybe leave this orchard because it's looking pretty creepy and depressing. So maybe there's, they can find some greener grass somewhere else. So Kimberly is kind of confused because, of course, she's like a medium or a psychic, and, she talks to dead people a lot, and nobody mentioned anything like this. So we see little Jessica in the back. She has all the knowledge, of course. She says there's 10 Deadlands. And they're like spheres, there's one inside another, kind of like an onion, they're layers. She says this is the lowest sphere, this is the reception area. So if you want to go higher, we're gonna have to climb the tower. And then they see this big ass sort of cybernetic like angel with fire hair come down. And this woman is like, he's come for me, I knew he would. And she'd gone in for gallbladder surgery and she woke up growing in the orchard like everyone else. So we can assume that she is deceased. And so this big ass angel's coming down. The angel's like, who is singing these songs? And she's like, I do, Lord. I sing them all the time. Like, if you're here, for the purest soul, and you want somebody who's singing these awesome hymns and whatever, like, I am your lady. Gallbladder Malpractice says, look, I'll sing you some more songs. Just take me up with you. Pretty sure this is a ride to heaven, so I'm down. I'll keep singing whatever you want. And so these angels scoops her up, and somebody's like, hey, that's not an angel. It's got like a motor in the back. These aren't like angels I've seen before. They're usually non-motorized. And little Jessica, she says, that's a soul trapper. It's from the 6th sphere, and they keep souls as pets there. It's sort of a fashion thing, sort of like a Hollywood thing, like a fetish. Last year it was acrobats, this year it's singers. So she's gone. Billy thinks about this kid as they're camping down, that she's like, disturbed or autistic or, whatever. And he says, being dead, it's a disturbing thing, but he thinks dying is worse. And certainly dying at the hands of Spawn is something that's just torturing him. The sound of the cloak flapping, the spikes, the skulls, the chains, like he just never wants to see Spawn again. According to Billy, night lasts about 3 hours. They kind of get up and continue on from there. There's no sun, so daylight's weird here wherever they are. They're out for a few minutes when Larry gets disintegrated. So they're starting to lose people sort of along their journey. And little Jessica says, we don't see many of these, and it was a prime monad from the highest sphere, the 10th sphere, and that the prime monad picks souls to use as circuitry in his macro computer. So it sounds like a pretty prestigious thing, actually. And she says that your friend's lucky, he's been selected and he's kind of gone on to a better purpose here. So Larry is gone and they continue on. Bob thinks he sees Elvis. He's super excited. He was a huge fan of Elvis when he was alive. So he's like, hey, I ran my pickup under that Peterbilt. I was listening to American Trilogy. And then like Elvis sort of speaks in weird like demon speak. But he has like tendrils and he's kind of slithering around, so he scoops up Bob, and Jessica says, there's nothing you can do for him. That's a something from the 5th sphere. And they basically chop up Bob and snort him and smoke him and inject him because he's kind of like a drug. So now they're down to just the 3 of them, Billy Kincaid, little Jessica, and Kimberly. So they're walking along, and Billy's hanging out with Jessica, of course. He's walking behind Kimberly, of course. And she's like, oh, I used to have a lucky crystal like this, because she's one of these crystal people. And we see in the next panel that she gets like straight swallowed up by a spider of sorts. Jessica says it was a soul gourmet from the 3rd sphere. I don't even know what that is. Like, I hate spiders, so I don't even want to really look at this. But pretty soon after that, it gets dark, and it's really just Billy and Jessica, which, as we know, is not really the best situation. So they find a place that they can, chill out, camp out, and sleep. Billy nods off. He starts dreaming. He starts dreaming of Spawn. Him being murdered by Spawn is just haunting him. It's torturing him. It's all he can really think about. It's all he can dream about. And he says, how we died, is that all that us dead people get to dream about? I mean, probably. Like, I don't know why Billy expects that things are going to be better for him. During the night, Billy wakes up in a cold sweat, and he knows what has to be done. Of course. It's the only way he can get these dreams out of his system. So he looks at Jessica. She's sleeping. He thinks, she's so sweet and innocent, and he's about to do her in. So he grabs her. He's like, I'm about to croak this know-it-all little bitch. And we see that she starts talking back to him, and then her face splits open, and this big, nasty creature pops out. He's like, dude, Billy, I almost thought you were going to whisk out on us. And out pops the Vindicator. He's one of the 5 famous Fleabiac brothers. He's a brother to the Violator. He pops out of Jessica. He was wearing her like a costume. He says, sorry about entrapping you like that. That they just wanted to make sure that Billy was the type of soul that they really wanted up on the 8th sphere. And now Billy bolts because the Vindicator is after him. He says, where are you going? You're going to love the 8th sphere. Everybody does. All this talk about it being a, quote, reeking, sulfurous, torture for... All this talk about it being a reeking, sulfurous... All this talk about it being a reeking, sulfurous, torture for... What the fuck is that even? A reeking, sulfurous torture furnace was just rumors spread by business rivals. There's soul scalpers on the 2nd level, Basically, Billy's trying to get out of here. So I think he thinks if he runs up this tower, that's the chance to escape. So he's going to try to run his fat ass up this tower, and Vindicator's kind of laughing. He's like, oh, all these stairs, maybe they should put in an elevator, maybe a little Wonkavator up ways, sideways, down ways, front ways, back ways. Anyway, Billy's struggling to get up these stairs. He's just trying to get away from the Vindicator. Here we have a really awesome depiction of the different levels of hell. And so we can see, level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to kind of just run through and describe all of what's going on here bit by bit and kind of cover each level in a bite-sized fashion. I don't know. Vindicator is sort of hyping up the 8th sphere. And so he's explaining to Billy like what his other options are. So on the second sphere, he would be turned into an ice shrimp. And the third one, he basically would be served in a pastry or maybe like on a crepe. He's basically going to get filleted and eaten. On the fourth sphere, he is just going to be a fuel rod, which sounds really boring. On the fifth sphere here, he obviously we already know that they're kind of druggies there, so he would ultimately become nose candy for a meta squid. On the sixth sphere, these are our angels, and they're going to stick him in a birdcage so he can sing. The next sphere, the seventh sphere, it's a place called Erebus. Nobody's ever been inside. It's a special hell for the absolutely most damnable creatures of all. So if Billy doesn't deserve to be there, I don't really know what would be in the seventh sphere. Vindicator says this place, the eighth sphere, you're going to love it. I call it home. This is where, the Malbolge is. We got Big Daddy Bulge down here. You're just going to love it, Billy. You're going to fit right in. Vindicator describes how he's going to be outfitted with his costume, his Malbolgia Conquest costume, which is a costume that Spawn wears. So we see the costume sort of manifest here, and it's being introduced as a neural parasite. So Billy is really terrified now because he's already been haunted by this sort of vision of Spawn and this costume. Now he's going to have to wear one. And so, Vindicator's like, just give it a chance, you might come to like it. And we can see the neural parasite costume is kind of grafting its way onto Billy, causing most likely excruciating pain. Vindicator says, she's bonding. I tell you, when this bonds with you, you got to remember two things. One, it's for life. And two, when it bonds with you, it's bonding with your central nervous system. But here we see Billy, kind of chunky Winnie the Pooh Billy, in his Spawn fit down at the bottom. And Vindicator kind of jokes and says, 50 years ago, we got a lot of these fashion plate Nazis up in here and they raved about this. So I don't even know what that means. So Billy's kind of making his way to meet Malbolgia. Vindicator says, you're all dressed up. You're ready to meet your employer. The gates are opening. Billy is just sad. He's like, this isn't fair. Why is the afterlife like this? Like, we shouldn't be treated like this. Vindicator's like, give me a break. Probably thinking, you're an evil piece of shit, Billy. And like, now you're all sad and crying. But we're trying to run a business here. And down here in hell, we operate things, as a business, a for-profit enterprise. And as a business rooted in hell, the words carved in marble in hell's lobby are not good and evil, but they are, in fact, shit happens. Shit happens, little buddy. Shit happens. And here Malbolgia sits, laughing his ass off, sitting on his hellish nightmare throne in the pits of hell, surrounded by his Spawn lookalike army. Billy, at the foot of Malbolgia, is astonished to see a living nightmare surround him, and Malbolgia is just sitting there. And Billy is having the worst moment of his entire life because now he's not really sure how he fits into this master plan in this army. He's being tortured by images of Spawn and these recurring dreams, and now he's kind of in a living nightmare. So that's a wrap on Spawn issue number 8. Again, this is a continuation of the Billy Kincaid storyline from issue number 5. This is the aftermath. We meet Billy in hell, kind of follow him along his journey of finding his place in hell's army and his eternal damnation and suffering. This has been sponsored content with Spawn Storytime, episode number 8. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you again.